Hello, everyone, and welcome to another event for the AI Challenge. Today, it's the importance of diversity in AI and our special guest, Kimetha Dunn. My name is Heidi Siwak. I'm your host for the AI Challenge, and I know you're hard at work in your classrooms, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. As always, we start with our land acknowledgement, and we want to make sure that we take time to set the tone. So take a deep breath, ground yourself, and really think about the message that we share each time we do the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are being hosted on distinct and diverse traditional territories of the First Nations and Métis where we live. And I think we are on lands that are governed by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant. The idea is that we all can peacefully live together in sharing this one dish, this land, and all that it provides, so long as we are each mindful of only taking what we need. We also recognize the enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis, and the Inuit peoples. And at I think, as you probably know by now, we believe the land acknowledgement is a moment for learning. So I'm going to share something that I learned just this week about something happening in Canada with regard to Indigenous knowledge systems, which we've talked about a little bit in some other sessions. We know that in the past we haven't always been inclusive with Indigenous knowledge in Canada, and we've made mistakes in even communicating what Indigenous knowledge is. So, in trying to get things right from the start in Canada, I thought this is really interesting. The Pan Canadian, which means all of Canada, our national AI strategy through CFAR, that's our big AI organization. Any researcher who is a trainee who's coming in to be trained to work in AI, they actually have to take a certificate course, 3 different courses in Indigenous knowledge systems to ensure that we're being respectful of Indigenous knowledge, we're honoring things like data sovereignty, and we're working in a relationship building way with Indigenous people as we think about AI. So I thought that's a kind of a really deep thing to know about our country. So I thought I'd share that today. So, why should we learn about the importance of diversity in AI? By now, we probably know the number of biases that exist in AI. I shared some data in the launch event about the breakdown of different people working in AI. And we know that AI is a tool to help us make decisions and solve problems. So we need different perspectives in AI if we're really to address the big challenges and problems in the world. And that is why I am so happy to have our guest today, Kimetha Dunn. I'm so excited about this. Uh, we became connected with Kimetha through an organization called Black Women in AI, and we put a call out that we were looking for some speakers, and Kimetha said, "Yes, I'd love to do this." And Kimetha actually works for Microsoft. Leads the user experience design work for Copilot. How cool is that? A tool that we actually use for generative AI, and some of you may have been on already. She's doing remarkable work in technology, but what I really love about Kimetha is her strong commitment to young people and to opening doors for people, and to especially people who are thinking, I'm not sure AI might be, to help us understand there's a place for all of us with our diverse backgrounds in AI. So with that, I'm happy to welcome Kimetha in Atlanta, Georgia, the United States, and she's going to share her knowledge with us today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I will turn it over to you.
Well, hello, everyone. It's so nice to kind of see you. My name is Kimetha. I'm in the US. I'm currently in Atlanta, Georgia. It is 70 degrees outside. I am making no complaints. But I'm super excited to talk to you about diversity in AI, being an individual that has, I'm in the thick of it, right? I'm a part of it. I'm what you would consider diverse. So what I want to do today is I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, a little bit about my role. I am a user researcher with Microsoft, working with AI, and my job is to understand the user. That would be you. Understand how you use the technology, what questions you have, things like that. So I want to tell you about a little bit about that, a little bit about the diversity and really what we need. What is AI? What is a large language model? All of those good things. So with that, give me a moment. I have two screens and I am going to prepare my wonderful slides I have for you guys and share that. So give me just one quick moment. And I know you may have questions, so please, by all means, write those questions and we'll get them answered as soon as possible. All right.
While Kimetha is getting set up, I'll just remind teachers that you can send questions in WhatsApp, you can email them to me, or you can put them right in the chat for the session.
All right, let's do it. The importance of diversity in AI. Again, my name is Kimetha. You know my title. I should also tell you, I'm a founder of the Fadila Group, which is an organization that is all about teaching you how to utilize technology. In the world that we live in, we no longer have to wait for people to help us. We can help ourselves. So I focus on you, what we call young folks. But I also tailor for older individuals. I have a mom, she's 65 and she's smart too. And I don't think we always tailor to that generation. They have a lot of knowledge to share. But that's me. So with that, let's move forward. I want you to know I use technology all through my slides, including this picture. My hair has never been that way. But this is a little bit about me. Again, we kind of talked about this already. But what you're seeing is what's called a walking deck. And it's similar to what a cover letter would be. But it's just something where you get to talk about yourself. You get to let people know who you are and why they should hire you. This is a little bit of my work history. I've been with Microsoft for 3 years, but I had a whole career prior to that. So I was a campus director. I worked at university. I worked for myself. I was an entrepreneur. That's why I absolutely love design. I worked in tech sales, but specifically in Microsoft, some of the things that are really, really important to me that I've done is speaking. You don't know yet, but it's my first love. I like to talk, and there's a place for that. For those of you who get check marks in conduct, if they still do that on report cards, you can make a lot of money knowing how to talk. So this is a little bit about me and what I've done. Kimetha Designs is another company that I have. I like money and I also like helping people, so I like the blend of two. And Kimetha Designs is another organization that I have. So with that, I want to let you guys know kind of some of the things that I've done at Microsoft. And this, I also want to communicate are some things that you will have to do in the new world that we're in. For those of us that are older, we were taught kind of not to really brag about yourself, not really give your accolades and say the things that you're good at. In the new world, you must. Otherwise, people won't know what to go to you for. So this is just an example of some of the things and some of the accomplishments that I'm super proud of that I've been a part of with Microsoft, including Copilot, accessibility, all of those wonderful things. So I'm really, 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 really happy about some of those accolades. And when we talk about accessibility, that's something else that's really, really important. Basically, what we did there is there's a population called neurodiverse and neurodivergence. They have different definitions, but they're very similar. But it's someone that thinks differently. So you may be considered neurodiverse if it's time for you to write a paper and you kind of just don't know where to start. We have any of those in there? And so Copilot was created to say, hey, what are you thinking about? And you can just put a thought in there. And then it'll help you come up with a plan and come up with a format. These are some of the things as a researcher and even as a designer, if you choose to get into the field, these are some of the things that you can change and implement. And when we talk about diversity in technology, it's really important because believe it or not, not everyone understands what you go through. As a Black American in America and a woman, my experience is probably different from you guys. Some of the information that was shared earlier about, Canada implementing this Indigenous initiative to make sure that technology is acknowledging that doesn't exist yet in America, right? So perspectives are different. All of that is different, and it's really important for you to showcase your strengths. So this is me showcasing some of the strengths that I've done with Microsoft. So with that, I'm still a human, right? I have done speaking engagements. Black Women in AI was mentioned earlier. It is one of my favorite organizations that I volunteer and I am a part of because we are really helping reaching out. You get to see someone like me in the industry that maybe you never heard of. But I'm also a techie, so I love Star Trek. I love it. Beam me up, right? For any of those who've been paying attention, Apple now has an Apple Pen where you can actually click just like Star Trek, right? So Star Trek to me is kind of like the future, but I'm obsessed with it. I also love HGTV. I love designing things in my mind. I don't know how to paint or anything, but I'm willing to try. So these are just some of the things that I am a part of. Again, volunteer work that's where a lot of your experience is going to come from. Free experience as that at that, and then you can connect with a lot of people that you may not have known with before because you're making yourself available in an environment that you may not have necessarily been a part of before. So, for example, the Black Women in AI, they were technically located in San Diego. I'm in Atlanta. I was able to go to the NVIDIA conference. If any of you know about NVIDIA, they've created an ecosystem for AI to be built upon. Um, Very big deal. We'll talk about how you should invest in stock later, but that's a little bit about me, so at least you know that I'm human and I've been around the block. So with that, let's talk about diversity. And I'm going to ask a couple of questions. I know I can't see you guys, but just answer them anyway, okay? So, who has an iPhone? I do. I have an iPhone. Um, why do you have an iPhone and not an Android? There's a reason for it, right? I have an iPhone because I like Apple products. I have an iWatch and I have an iPhone and Apple TV, and I just like having that connection with everything. My husband has an Android, and it drives me crazy because when he texts, the color's different, right? But his camera, it's better sometimes, right? So the reason I'm talking about that and I'm making this interesting example is because diversity is so much more than just color. Diversity can be how a product is used based off the size of your hands. If I'm a 7-year-old, my hand will hold a cell phone much differently than if I was a 35-year-old, right? Um, so some of us have iPhones, some of us have Androids. Can you give me 3 reasons why? I just gave you a couple of reasons, right? What about your reasons? Why do you choose Android? Um, why do you choose iPhone? You know? Now, the reason that I wanted to talk to you about that is because diversity in this sense is really important. And it's important because, everybody has different reasons for different things. And I'll give you another example. Um, I use my iPhone because it makes my chats easier. It makes me be able to communicate. iPhone has an iMovie feature. So when I have a lot of videos, I could just kind of put it in the movies. Um, and again, I have Apple products, but my mom, right? My husband uses it for other reasons, but my mom, she actually uses Android because the interface is bigger. Literally, the words are larger. And it's easier for her to navigate because with Android, it's only a couple of clicks. So this is a part of diversity that I want us to expand our mind on. It's not just about color. It can be about demographic, where you live. Some people don't have access to cell phones at all. China has restrictions on their internet, right? That matters. It can be diversity based off of age. My mom literally has different needs than I do. I have an 8-year-old son who loves Roblox. He needs a phone with a lot of memory, right? I need a phone because I need to conduct business. All these things are different diversity aspects and an example of the reasons why we need you. You guys think differently than we do. You have really good ideas. You come up with things I could have never thought of before. And without your input and without you practicing these tools, we can miss some connections that could change the world. So I want to remind you of how important your input is, because I remember when I was in school, and you have to be quiet and listen. But there's also a time where you don't, and that's where you get to express your creativity and the diversity that we're talking about today. So think about this. If we didn't have that diversity, if we didn't have these different perspectives, what would our phones even look like, right? So with that, let me tell you a little bit about my job. My job consists of harnessing these skills that you see in front of you. So as a researcher, I have to empathize. And empathize basically means when you have a better understanding of a problem that someone may go through. So if I want to empathize with you, maybe I would go to class for a day to see what it's like to be a student because I haven't been a student in a long time. I want to better understand how you feel so that I can ask better questions and kind of be in your shoes. Then, as a researcher, I have to define our problem. So, what problem are we trying to solve? Who will it help? Why is it important? How will we go about solving that problem? Can we do it virtually? All of those questions, you have to define the opportunity and define the problem. The next, I have to ideate. And I want you to pay attention to these words so you can get an idea of what they mean. And ideate is all about generating solutions. So maybe my solution to get Android users to use an iPhone is to create an iPhone that's a little bigger and a little larger for older adults, and I appeal to them. Maybe I want to appeal to younger people, and so I get a lot more memory and I embed Roblox and Minecraft and all that stuff that my 8-year-old likes. Because I don't like him to be on YouTube, right? So I want to ideate. And then prototype is when you actually build it and you want to practice it and see if it works. So now that I've built the app, I've built the program, I built the product, now I have to go out and send it to you and you guys use it and let me know if it works or not. If there's things that I need to fix, we go out, we test it, we come back, and we go back to ideation, which means we come up with a new idea. How many of you have iPhones that give updates every 3 days? It's crazy. That's us ideating the technology. There's something new. There's a new security check, and we added something to the computer. That's an example there. So that is my job, explained in a very technical, boring way. But in addition to that, as a researcher, as a designer, if you choose to get into this field, most of us make over 6 figures starting out. So it is absolutely something to get into. Degrees like computer science, design thinking, art majors, those of you who like art and color theory, there's a lot of money out there. Those of you who are analytical like me as a researcher, I get to help people pull insights and figure out what's going on so they can make better decisions. So with that, regardless of whether you're a designer or a researcher, you're going to deal with these product teams. And we're back to diversity because your product teams are going to consist of all types of individuals from everywhere. My team is in Seattle. Part of my team is in India. I have a counterpart that is in China that we have to, work with every so often. So diversity is a huge thing that you will have to deal with. But again, it's so important because where are you? Right? We need your input. We need you using the technology. We need you asking the questions so that the technology gets a better idea of the world that we're shaping and creating. So with that, this is a product team that I work with. This is, you'll probably be on one of those teams if you choose this type of profession. But your product manager, they are all about the business needs. They balance the roadmaps when things are due, deadlines. They make sure that KPIs, which is key performance indicators, are met. Things like that. They're all about the business. If you're really good at organizing things and telling people what to do, it's a great field for you. There's other parameters as well. And then you have your designer. And your designer, these are the artistic folks. These are the folks that draw, maybe get in trouble in class because they daydream a lot. Maybe they draw, they like to color, they dress well, things like that. And they're all about designing and making things beautiful. So you'll have research because you have to make sure that if you design something that, the colors match, that it's not disrespectful to another culture. Maybe someone's colorblind and they can't see the color red. These things matter, right? Your job is to be able to figure those things out. And then you'll be able to create beautiful prototypes. So all of those apps, um, someone had to create that. That website that you go to every day, someone has to create that. TikTok, Facebook, all those iterations that they have that now it looks different. There was a designer who had to create that and a researcher who had to find the information. And then you have the engineers. Engineers can be any type of person, but engineers are really good with computers and good with sitting at a computer for a long period of time and looking at data. They may or may not like people. Sometimes they don't, sometimes they do. Anybody can be an engineer, kind of, but you have to have a mind for it and you have to really like sitting at a computer for a long period of time. So if you're a gamer, you like math, or you just really like creating things that never existed before, engineering would be something that's really good for you. And the engineers, they actually build the products that we create. So the product manager makes sure everything is on time and on budget. The designer makes it beautiful. The designer and the researcher are kind of in there together. They're talking to the users, they're making sure things work together. And then the engineer actually takes that information and builds it. Which one would you like to be? It's up to you. So with that, this is how it all comes together. You guys have heard of UX, UI. UX is user experience. It's how the user actually experiences the product, and UI is user interface. It's what they see, how beautiful it is. Zoom has a makeup filter. I wonder how it makes me look, right? That's a that's a UI component. All about color theory, typography. Typography are the fonts. So if you go to Time New Roman or one of those other ones, that's the font. Design patterns, the animations, that's all UI. UX, it's all about strategy, research, information architecture. When you click on this button, it takes you here. That's the researcher. So if you're a person who you're nosy or you like information, you like to Google things, you like to be right, you win arguments. User experience would be really, really good. And then I showed this image because what I really want to share with you is the difference, but the similarities. There are four components that you'll always need, whether you're in design, whether you're in research, whether you're in product, or whether you're in engineering, in the tech world in general. You have to have empathy. And empathy simply means that you're willing to feel how someone else feels. Um, the world would be a much better place if we cared a little more about what's going on overseas or what's going on with other people in their lives. If we cared a little more, that's empathy. Collaboration, you have to be able to work with people, even if you don't like them that much, because it's not about that. It's about creating a product that everybody can use and that you can be really proud of being a part of. You also have to have design thinking, and that's the process that we talked about earlier. You have to ideate. First, you have to have empathy, and then you have to, define your problem, and then you have to ideate, and then you have to prototype. That's a design thinking. And then a prototyping is creating it, right? You have to create it and test it to see if it works. So once you have all those components, you can go anywhere in the room and make a lot of money. So I'm going to give you guys an example. And again, I know I can't see you, but participate with me because it's fun. All right, so this is a catch-up model. We're just going to do a quick test. Which bottle would you say indicates UX design, and which bottle would you say indicates UI design? UX is a user experience, and UI is how it looks. Another question that I have, I wish I could see a show of hands, but I'm just going to think about it in my brain. How many of you have used the skinny bottle before? Yeah, right. So pat that thing down really hard, and then the ketchup splatters all over your stuff. How many of you have used the other bottle before? That's a bottle that I give my kids because they'll just ruin the ketchup otherwise. Now, question for you, which one is more practical? Second question, which one is more beautiful? Right? So I'm super interested to kind of hear your thoughts and kind of see what you're thinking because this is kind of what it looks like. So let me give you an example. I'm from Chicago originally. I moved to Atlanta 3 years ago. So Chicago born and raised. Any Chicagoans? Woo woo. Um, so we have a restaurant called Steak and Shake. And Steak and Shake, it's a burger restaurant. It's phenomenal. It reminds you of like the 1960s. And you go inside and they have the glass ketchup bottles. That's a skinny tall bottle. They're really pretty. They're durable in a sense that it's glass, so recycling and things like that, it's a really good idea. But it's cumbersome and difficult because, when you let the ketchup out, you have to like hit the bottle, right? However, the other one, although not pretty, it doesn't fit anywhere in the refrigerator except for on the side of the door, it's very practical because you could squeeze it. Once you stop squeezing it, it stops. So the bottle on my left, possibly you're right, the skinny one is all about UI. It's pretty, it looks nice. It's kind of like women's shoes. If you're not careful, they can look nice, but they can hurt, right? And then the UX, that's the one on the other side of the larger bottle. And that's about, hey, the user actually used this bottle and gave us feedback. And they said, man, I wish the bottle would just squeeze. I wish I can just close the bottle. I wish I could get that little bit of ketchup that's left at the bottom of the glass bottle. And so now you turn it over. That is my job in a nutshell. It's figuring those things out. Your job as a researcher and as a designer. And again, we go back to diversity. Why is this important? Well, maybe some people don't care and they really love their ketchup all over the place. Me, on the other hand, I don't like my food to touch. right? So without having that diverse perspective, it's a missed opportunity on a product that you can make a lot of money off of. Um, so with that, our main responsibilities would be to empathize and define your problem. Feel how the person feels, understand where they're coming from, and then define the problem that they have so you know what you're solving. And then next is to ideate and test. Think about what you're going to do. Who is the target market? Who's wearing? You're building shoes. What's their climate? Is it a rocky climate? Is it sand? That determines that determines a lot about the type of shoe, right? Is it rainy and muddy? Maybe you need a rain shoe then. Like all of those things are really important. And then you have to redefine and deliver. And that's when you go and test something. If it doesn't work, you go back and you change it. That's what makes people rich. That's what makes a great entrepreneur. It's about failing forward, what they call growth mindset in the industry. But it's pretty much failing a lot of times without losing momentum and just knowing what you know and choosing to get better. And what I love about that is that's where technology comes in and where I'm going to pivot just a little bit to talk about prompts, and then I'll leave time for questions and things like that. So my favorite part about technology is my motto is save yourself, right? And I'm not talking about religion, that's not what I'm talking about. But I'm saying if there's something that you don't like about the way your teacher's doing something, create something and present it to the teacher. It might be a good idea. If you don't like the way your parents are talking to you, go on ChatGPT and ask it, man, I need to talk to my parents about talking to me better, but I don't know how to do it, right? Just it's almost like having a really smart friend that doesn't talk back or won't give you smack about your questions or whatever the case may be. So there's a couple of prompts that work really well for me. They also work in Copilot. The reason that I'm showing ChatGPT today is because Copilot is protected, and it's really, really good for protected information. So working, at school, it's good because no one else will be able to see your information. It won't go into the World Wide Web per se, versus ChatGPT. It gives you great responses, but anybody can see it. So be conscious about what you're putting on there, okay? So the first thing that you want to do with your prompts is you want to be as clear as possible. Generate your questions. Be very, very clear. So the example that they have here is understand the user experience from senior citizens using a healthcare app versus generate interview questions for an app or even generate, interview questions for a healthcare app. For who though? The more specific you are, the better results you can have. Second, incorporate user-centric language. It depends on who you're talking to. I work with a lot of C-suite presidents, corporate America, so I use this quite often to help me with my language, right? I'm very conscious that I grew up a little different from everyone, and this technology allows me to be so much confident, so much more confident in how I communicate to people. So be specific with the language. If your teacher gives you a specific language that you have to use, this is very good for that. And then it's something called iterative prompting, and that's things like you want to describe, something, describe an issue to give it an example, or you can build upon a response that you have before. And don't worry, I have an example for you guys. And then lastly, define the role. So for example, ChatGPT, you are the president of the United States and I need a grant. I don't know. You're my principal and I want to propose that we have summer camp for summer school. And what it does is it puts itself as a principal with all the rules that come with that. And it's really, really beneficial. So let me give you an idea. So, what you're saying today, I am exploring how AI can help us make persuasive arguments. In this case, we're going to convince a skeptical family member, dad or husband, to consider getting a dog. I actually just did this. And I began by prompting the AI with a simple request: help me convince my husband to get a dog using logical, practical reasons and keep it into a 2-minute dialogue. And as you can see, it's prompting information for us within a 2-minute dialogue, actually, depending on how fast or slow you read, right? Now, the AI quickly generated a thoughtful response. It provided emotional and practical reasons, focusing on how a dog could improve our family happiness and health. Some key points it included were how dogs reduce stress, encourage exercise, and teach responsibly to kids. Qualities that would benefit the whole family, right? So then because I know my audience, my husband, your dad, or mom. I know that they are not easily swayed by emotional appeals alone. So I again prompted the AI using the same thing, same thread, and I prompted it saying that, I wanted to be more persuaded by facts and personal benefits. And the AI immediately adapted, shifted to a more evidence-based approach. And this time it included data backed by reasons like how dog ownership can reduce blood pressure, boost immune health, create meaningful social interactions, all of those things. And it even added that a dog could be a loyal, stressful, relieving companion, which was a thoughtful touch. You also see there how you can share the information, put it in a PowerPoint. You can even share it on social media. But finally, I wanted to bring in a youthful perspective. Imagine being a 13-year-old who might present these ideas. And so I asked AI to make it sound like it was coming from a teenager, a 13-year-old to be exact. And it crafted a friendly, simple, and relatable response. The new version still had the evidence-based points, but it sounded more conversational and natural, as if a kid were sharing what they wanted, a pet. So throughout this process, I was really impressed by how adaptive the AI was. Reading aloud each response, there is an option for it to be read aloud to you. So if there's any, I just love how inclusive it is. Let's say that. And also, it's really just, or let me give this caveat. These features are really powerful, okay? But they should be used thoughtfully and responsibly. You should alter the responses. You shouldn't just copy and paste and put it on there because remember, the whole world now has access to this. And there's technology out there that can kind of trigger that. So use this as a basis, use it as a way to help you communicate, but then go in and make it your own. Make sure you take words like delve out of it. Even though, at least for the Chat GPT in America, that's an indicator that you're using the technology, although other cultures use that word regularly. So just some of those things that matter that you guys don't know about, just make sure you're, kind of redoing the work. Um, but in closing, look, AI, I love it because it's all about ideas. We can save ourselves. We can come up with our own ideas. We can do it. And I just wanted to give you guys an example of how you can use that practically, how I use it every day as a researcher, with the hopes that you guys really think about coming into the world of tech. It's a phenomenal world and we need your input. We need you here, so that we can make things inclusive and diverse and all those wonderful things. So with that, I want to thank you so much. This QR code that you see here, if you take your phone and take a picture, and I hope this is okay, but it's a website that I have. So it has my LinkedIn, it has my website, information about me. But thank you so much for having me. I will stop sharing my screen, let you guys come back on, and I would love to hear any questions that you have. I know I talk a lot, but I love what I do. So thank you so much.
That was wonderful. Oh my goodness, you broadened my understanding of what diversity is. So thank you for that. So you've worked with Copilot and teachers, if you have questions, just drop them into the WhatsApp chat or into the chat with a link. So with Copilot, what's something you've learned about user experience that you've changed maybe since last year because you go, oh, users need this.
Absolutely. What we notice is everyone uses it differently, right? So as a researcher, I specifically with Copilot because it's protected and it has the language that Microsoft has. This is the benefit of it. So if you use it as an organization for a school, you can embed all that language in there, and things are so politically correct these days, so it's really valuable, when you kind of don't want to step on any toes. But what I found is the complexity of how it can be used. So, Copilot, although it's fantastic, it also has to learn how you communicate. It has to learn what words mean to you. So, being able to have certain rules like giving it an identity, that's huge, right? Telling it that you want it to be a teacher versus a professor are very two different responses, right? They're very different. Um, Telling it that you want it to come from your dad versus a professor, like they're just different. So understanding an identity, the biggest thing that we learned is if we give certain parameters, kind of like grammar, these are the rules to how to say a correct sentence. We're literally doing the same thing with Copilot to say, here are the rules to communicate with Copilot. If you use these rules, you will get the optimal result. If you give it an identity, if you're specific, those type of things, it'll give you a better result. So what we learned is that people use it for all types of things, really for work, but people are using it for like setting up their meal plans for the week. Um, or they have, an Excel document with so many data points. They can put it in Copilot and say, Copilot, I need this specific information. And then Copilot will pull it up and then give timestamp where you can find it if it's a recorded session, like things like that, that just makes things easier and quicker. You're more efficient. And if money's involved and you have to prove something, it makes it much, much easier to provide those data sets.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Okay, so what is for students who struggle in school? Maybe they struggle with reading or writing, or if school is difficult for them for whatever reason. How do you imagine like generative AI or AI could help those students?
Definitely. Man, I wish somebody could come online and like pull up your chat GPT or your Copilot and say, hey, I have difficulty. Hey, chat GPT, I want to create a plan to help me read better. What questions should I answer for you? And it'll start asking you questions. And then, hey, chat GPT, I want to be able to read at an eighth grade level in well, let me up that. I want to be able to read at a college level in 6 months. Let's create a plan to do that. Let's start with plan one. Pretend that you are a professor of Oxford and it will start giving you information that is what I mean. So this is why I like talking about this because I like seeing your face saying, "Whoa, yes. Yes, I can do that. And yes, it can give me information." And now you can come equipped with your counterparts because it's not all about technology. Technology is our partner. And now you come with ideas. Hey, teacher, I don't like that we just sit with blocks of paper for 2 hours. I have 3 ideas that can help me read better that maybe help other people. You want to practice? You see, it changes the game. Now you're not saying, teacher, you're a bad teacher, curriculum, you're a bad curriculum. You're saying, no, it's not bad, but here's something different that we can do to be able to better help everybody. And with that, we could change the whole world versus waiting for our wonderful slowpoke education system. It is what it is. It's a big old giant. Um, we could save ourselves. That's literally my motto, like in every area. You don't like what's going on at home. You want to make some more money and you're 15 and you're like, how do I make money off social media? Hello, ChatGPT. I don't have any money. Give me 6 ways to make $1,000 in 2 weeks. Right? So I love talking about it because it gets me excited. I'm like, I need to use it more. But that's what I've been using. This is why I've been able to talk about it more. This is how the opportunities are coming to me. I have opportunities to speak to adults on larger scales because they have no idea this exists. And I simply have an idea that they didn't know about. And ChatGPT helped me come up with that. So we no longer have excuses, kids. You guys have to help us too. The whole world is changing. We know a little bit, but the whole world is changing. You guys know stuff too, and you have to contribute and help us out so we can change the world because we need it, right?
Absolutely. So, how do you imagine this changing teachers' lives?
Yes. So here's how I see it. And I thought about this. Teachers will have to change to not change because you guys do it already. There will be a heavy adjustment to more theoretical thinking on the how to do things differently because technology can write our lesson plans for us now. You no longer have to do that. That's 3 hours after school because school ended at 2 and you're there to 5 o'clock trying to figure out what am I gonna do between 2 and 3. I have a friend that's a math teacher. It was brutal. You can now give that to technology and it will write it for you every day. So now you have the time and the capacity to think differently because our world is different. We're not in a factory-based world where we can sit in a line and the bells for recess, it's different, right? We're in a thought collaborative world. We have to start sitting in circles and looking at each other and understand emotional cues and those things that technology cannot do for us. The artistic things, we have to get back to that. Manners, respect, collaboration, because technology will be able to do all the technical things, including folding our clothes one day, because I need that in my life.
You're an optimist. Could you speak to us a little bit because we've learned about biases, bias in training data, and bias in AI. Could you speak to that a little bit and help us understand, like, your thoughts on bias in AI?
Definitely. So, you guys hear a whole lot about diversity and we want you in technology. And it's because of this bias phenomenon. So, here's what happens. If I feel a certain way about someone and I'm teaching the technology, I'm literally teaching the technology the same thing. So, unless I have someone different to come in and say, something different, the technology is going to learn. Let me give you two examples. How many of you have gone to a restaurant, the mall, whatever the case may be, and you put your hand under the soap dispenser? Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Well, maybe a year or 2 years ago, that soap dispenser would not recognize people with melanin skin. It wasn't a prejudice thing. No one was at the table to tell them, consider pigment that is a part of the skin. So that's what we mean by diversity and biases. Sometimes it's intentional, but sometimes it's not. I can only give you a perspective based off of Kimetha living in Chicago for 37 years, living in Atlanta for 3 years, never been to Canada, been to Niagara Falls, right? So if you so if you ask me anything about it, my bias will be skewed based off of my experience. So it's all about having different experiences and perspectives to be able to put the data in the system so we don't create a prejudice system. But right now, we don't have a lot of representation. I can only do so much. I'm not Black American Kimetha from Seattle. We think differently, right? I'm not, Kimetha from Canada. You guys are kind of awesome. Y'all got some really cool things going on. Your budget's great. Like I looked it up. Um, it's important to have those different perspectives. So when we talk about bias, it's all about the people who understand the systems, the people who have the technical acumen. They're feeding the system what they know. But if we don't have you to learn what you need to learn to get into these systems, to make good money, by the way, work anywhere you want, like it's awesome. If you're not there to add your perspective in there, the biases will continue to be what they currently are. So please, I beg of you, it's great money. I don't even know what else to say besides that because that's really important. Um, Go into social services, do all that. Go into psychology, do all that. But there's technology that can help you. There's technology that can help. You're in social services and you want to help kids, you can create technology to help keep track of them so there can be no more kidnapping. It's a much bigger, it can change the world. And so I'm here to shout it to the mountaintops because someone's going to get an idea that I could never come up with. And hopefully, when you become a millionaire, you remember me and you send me some money. But I hope that answers your question. I hope you guys can really, hopefully, feel I'm really genuine about this. I really mean it. I know you guys get talked to all the time, but man, we need you. The world needs you. You guys have really good ideas. So,
We do have some good ideas. And oh my goodness, in this AI challenge, we're looking forward to seeing their ideas at the end of it. And your piece here today is really, they're thinking about this question, how can AI augment the lives of every student in our school? And they're thinking critically about AI. They're thinking about where's the deeply human in all of this. They're trying to understand how AI might enhance learning. So really looking at different perspectives to then make their recommendations and generate their ideas to their schools and school boards about, we want this from AI. We think we should be doing this with it. So they are working on their ideas, which is so
that's amazing.
amazing.
That is, and like so think of that. We're talking about bias, right? What if you had to submit some information because the AI doesn't know anything about you, doesn't know anything about you to assess anything, right? So you say, okay, we're going to submit the report cards for the last 2 years. Now there's a bias based off of whoever judged you on those report cards, which means now you have to come up with something to mitigate that bias and show who you are as an individual today. Maybe it's a video so somebody could see who you are. Maybe you conduct some sort of test, 10 questions to learn your personality. These are things that you can really think about that can mitigate these natural biases. It's natural. We only can go off the information that we have. And so we need you to add more information. So I hope maybe that gives somebody another idea for that challenge. Because that's phenomenal. I want to do the challenge.
And one last question. If a student is interested in working at Microsoft, how do you end up at Microsoft?
Yes. Oh my goodness, guys, we have so many options. So there is something called Microsoft Learn. You can just put Microsoft Learn in Google. It's free. It's free. Doesn't matter how old. Don't quote me on the old part. It may be an age limit. I'm not sure. Check. But it's free and it gives you the ability to learn these skills. So you can learn coding. You can learn emotional intelligence. You can learn design. We have hackathons. Follow me on LinkedIn. Please check with your parents and teachers. I post all of that stuff. We have a hackathon going on next week for in Chicago for kids between the ages, I think, 6th to 12th grade. We go all around the country. So, I we'll talk afterwards to have those partnerships and things like that. But that's what it's about. There's so many free things, and I can't say it enough. Google, or since I work for Microsoft, go to Bing, go to the Bing search engine. And put in there, Microsoft free skill learning. It's out there. I use it and I work there because I don't want to pay for it. And I'm learning how to code because I want to have more control over what's going on and what I'm talking about. So I'm learning the basis of it, and then I can use technology, to create things and better communicate with the engineers. So it's a tool about collaboration, and we just have to use it. And for those of us that use Copilot, same thing applies. Copilot just gives you the ability to be specific with the language. So maybe there's a certain way or certain um, uh, target words or things like that that are important to your organization. Things like telemetry, for example, we use that word often in the research world. It's also a protection of privacy in your data, so you don't have to worry about someone going into ChatGPT and then your stuff pulling up and then it triggers in the system that is plagiarized. Like, that's a real thing, right? That's why you can't just copy and paste what the technology gives you. You have to add your own ideas and your own words. Okay, so hint hint, guys. So yeah, those things are game changers. They could change the world. We are going to change the world. It's a matter of time. I just want us to all be on board, um so we could ride the wave together.
And I think that's a really lovely way to end this. Kimetha, I am so grateful for your enthusiasm and your optimistic message and your encouragement to young people to get involved and get started, for helping us understand the different roles in creating technology, and that there's a place for everyone with different talents and different skill sets. And I think maybe some minds will have been opened up today about what diversity is in your context, and students may begin looking for places for themselves in this world of tech. So thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate your message. And students, we're going to let you continue, and teachers, let you continue on with your day.
Can I
And
say one
we're,
more thing really, really quickly?
yes.
All of our doomsdayers, because that's a real thing. I'm a conspiracy theorist. If you think something's bad going to happen, may happen, create the technology to mitigate it. I'm just saying. So thank you again.
All right. Thank you. And then I think Alice is going to end the recording.
Everything is good. We are now